met
your
that.
view on Bitcoin, you've made comments on this. You believe Bitcoin is not a security. Is that true?
Well, I think the staff of the SEC have also, and the prior chair.
I'm just asking you this question, and this is not a gotcha. I thought this was going to be an easy softball into harder questions. Do you think Bitcoin is a security?
I think I've said this in the past that I think that it doesn't
I'm asking you
meet the
to
Howey
answer
test.
my question now. This is not supposed to be hard.
I know. I said it does not meet the Howey test, which is the law of the land about being an investment.
So it doesn't meet the
contract
Howey test. So therefore, it's a commodity. Is that fair?
I would say it's not a security, and then the test is otherwise for other laws.
Crypto family, welcome back to the channel. As you can see, that is Gary Gensler doing what he does best, not answering questions. Now he's even confused to even say if Bitcoin is a commodity or not. He's definitely said that Bitcoin is a commodity in the past. I guess he's changing his mind now. Now it's just not a security. He's the most confusing person in the world, but thankfully the government has the SEC Stabilization Act that they are trying to pass through Congress, and basically this would remove Gary Gensler as the head of the SEC, and it would make 6 people, 3 Democrats and 3 Republicans, have control over what happens in the SEC equally, which I think is a lot better. What we've been seeing from Gary Gensler over the past couple of years just hasn't been great. But in today's video, we're checking out the CEO of Coinbase, Brian Armstrong, talking about how the government is trying to hold down crypto, hold down Bitcoin, how the SEC has been attacking crypto unnecessarily. And we're starting to see a lot of people in Congress fight back now. A lot of this is not constitutional, but it's happening anyway. He talks about all that in today's video, and really think about what could happen if everything that Brian Armstrong is talking about in today's video would happen to the price of a lot of cryptos in the next bull run if what he talks about happens. So let's go ahead and check it out. Leave your thoughts in the comment section below. Let's go ahead and play the clip.
If you ask me just personally, I think there should be less regulation around this. I think it would create more innovation. Society would have to tolerate greater variance, right? There'd be more scams, there'd be more highs, there'd be more lows. But the truth of the matter is a lot of times you have regulation and it ends up having the opposite of the intended effect. So we don't live in that world where people are going to say, well, let's just be hands off and do nothing. So when I go to DC, the Overton window of discussion is basically, we're going to do the regulation for you, or you can engage and have a say. And so of course we're going to take the other side and say, okay, let's try to help craft that regulation. But if you ask me just personally as like a citizen, there should be less regulation, I think. You know, the actual regulation that would allow this industry to be built here in a safe way, but also protect the innovation, it would do things that are actually kind of similar to the traditional financial services industry. So you would have some basic rules in place around, okay, you need to get these audits complete, you know, wash trading is illegal, let's make an actual process for somebody who wants to register a crypto security, and it could trade on a broker-dealer or these kinds of things. And so these are actually not rocket science, they're just kind of copying a lot of the best practices like AML, KYC, those kind of things from the traditional financial services industry, and centralized players in crypto should have to follow those. Now, if you're doing a decentralized thing, I don't think that's a financial service business, you're never taking possession of customer funds, like these decentralized protocols or self-custodial wallets. I think that should be treated more like the software industry, and the centralized players should be more regulated. Now, you can also do things like have a sandbox for innovation and say, okay, if you're a startup and you can't afford $20 million a year in legal bills, you know, you're under a certain amount, then you can operate in this sandbox, and there's other things other countries have done. What's actually happened is not quite that, although there are some good bills going through Congress. Unfortunately, we have a regulator, the chair of the SEC, who's kind of weaponized the agency for his own political purposes.
Gary Gensler.
Right, along with Elizabeth Warren, who they just don't want crypto to exist in the United States. I mean, there should be a robust, healthy market to trade crypto securities in the US. There is not currently a way to register. And so they've been sort of talking out of both sides of their mouth and then saying, hey, just come in and register. And then you see these exchanges come in that have never traded a single coin as like, you know, the ones that are propped up as like the ones that are following the rules. So they're actually, I think what their true intention or belief is behind the scenes, and I'm speculating a little bit here, is they just don't want it to exist. I think it's because they don't want to lose power. They think the government should run financial services. They have their hooks into the big banks. They can pressure the big banks to close accounts on, you know, if you have the wrong political opinion or you're in the wrong industry, you're in oil and gas or whatever the flavor of the day is. They want to be able to pressure companies because they can't get it done through Congress. They want to pressure it through the big banks. And crypto, in America, people should be free to have control of their own money, to use new technologies. It's fundamentally anti-American what they're doing, and I think next year in the elections, we need to make sure that all voters and people who are pro-innovation, pro-technology, vote people out of office who are trying to curtail our freedoms around crypto. Well, they're absolutely correct that this industry has attracted some really bad people, right? I will admit that. If you look at the beginnings of any new technology, the internet, there was lots of scams. Even in traditional financial services, we have Bernie Madoff and Exxon periodically, right? So what you should do in a free society is if somebody commits fraud, absolutely, that's what the justice system should do, is go after them, create a deterrent, put them in jail. Sam Bankman-Fried should go to jail. It does not mean that the industry should be outlawed. And one of the really dangerous things that's happening is that, the Constitution says that Congress creates the laws. What's happened is that we've created these agencies, and because they can just send subpoenas to everybody or publish these guidance letters, this is kind of the administrative state, if you will. They are de facto creating laws. Other industries, like in the FDA, if the FDA puts out a guidance letter and you don't like it, what are you going to do? It's a de facto law. And so there's an interesting constitutional argument around this of is the administrative state overreaching? And I think we've seen that in this example with the SEC. Anytime you create a startup and you go up against some big incumbent, there's going to be a shift of power. And in the U.S., the government enjoys this monopoly on issuing the currency, right? They have, in the U.S., our banks are more privatized than, say, China or most other countries, but they're quasi-nationalized in the U.S. I mean, we talked about the revolving door and all the kind of oversight, and a bank cannot launch a new product without government approval. So, how really private market is it? I think Bill Gurley showed that graph of there haven't been any new banks really created since Dodd-Frank. So it's a quasi-nationalized industry. Of course, some people are going to be upset about losing the power of that, but in America, this is a free country, and American citizens should be free to use any technology that they want. They should be free to use cryptocurrency, and as long as you're not hurting somebody else, that should be protected as a freedom here. Yeah, well, so that is one of the great things about America that makes me bullish on it, is that we do have these different branches of government that are such a great check and balance. And you're right, and the judicial branch has been kind of my favorite branch of government in the last few months. And they've really the SEC has gone 0 for 3 in the courts. The courts kind of keep upholding rule of law, which has been really great. So there's been a handful of cases. There was the Ripple one, there was the Terraform one, which agreed on this idea that the underlying crypto assets themselves were not securities. That's a very important fact, by the way, in our case with the SEC. And then just recently there was this Grayscale Trust, ETF, and the judge ruled that the SEC was arbitrary and capricious and unlawful in not approving their application. Yeah, and unless you're a big company like Coinbase, you don't have the legal budget to kind of go to court and fight these things out. And I can tell you, as a public company, I talked to a number of other people, and they were like, oh my gosh, you can't sue the SEC, or engage in litigation with them. That you're a public company, you have to settle. And I was the settlement option on the table was to essentially delist everything other than Bitcoin. Oh. And so that would have been the end of the industry in the US. It was an easy choice. Of course, if we think the law doesn't say that, we're going to go to court.
And thank you for watching all the way to the end of the video. Make sure to leave your thoughts in the comment section below. Definitely like to hear what you guys have to say about everything going on in crypto. Do you agree with Brian in today's video? And hit that like button, subscribe, helps out the channel. We're going to continue to promote crypto, Bitcoin every single day. So make sure to come back if you like the content. My name is Aaron from Bitcoin Bros. I'm out. I'll see you guys in the next one. Have a great rest of your day.